What's up, bro?
What's up, Ev?
How you doing?
How are you, man? Oh, man, I'm great. This is something different for me, but it's such an honor to be here talking with you.
Well, I
on
mean,
camera.
we talk all the time, though, so this is a special scenario for sure. We've never done anything like this before.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, so for people that don't know, this is Kevin Holycross here. He's a dear friend of mine, a festival promoter, just a generally like fantastic, supportive, amazing friend.
Thank you.
You've always been a guiding light in my life, bro. And I just want to start out with saying how grateful I am for you. And I know you feel the same way about me, and it might feel weird like me kind of approaching it this way, but there's people that have been there on my journey through my spiritual process and my musical creative process that have been like linchpins in helping me believe in myself. And you are a huge linchpin and lighthouse for me in my life, bro.
Thank you. It's all love, man. You changed my life.
Why do you
literally changed my life when I met you?
You say that. You've told me that a few times, and I guess I don't really know the full story of how I've changed your life, I guess.
Want to talk about it?
Of course. Tell me.
So you mentioned I do the festivals. I was doing this Festival of Fire.
Yeah.
It was primarily a reggae festival. And it was kind of a collective thing where the bands that I always try to get new bands and something new to bring to the area that, we didn't really see on the East Coast. And I reached out to Matt Link from the Elevators. I was like, Matt, give me some new stuff. And he was like, bro, Indubious. And I was like, really? And as soon as I caught that first album, man, that he sent me, I was just instantly hooked. I was like, I want them. And then I believe that was the first time you guys had been out East is when I brought you to the 2018 Festival of Fire.
I'm pretty sure that's true. Yeah, that was our first time going out East, because I was thinking maybe Shangri-La was the first one, but it was actually us on that tour that we ended up getting to play in front of JoJo from Wookiefoot, that he ended up booking us for Shangri-La. So yeah, that was our first time. We were on that tour with Ayaterra.
And I think it was Ayaterra's first time out too. Both of these bands were pretty new to me.
Yeah.
And I was like so excited. And then literally the amount of people that from this area that is just all about Indubious is phenomenal. But
I think that's all you. That's all because of you.
So I always had the intention of helping people and doing good and creating this positive space for people. And that venue was it's some sort of portal,
For sure.
And there's something really magical about that place. And I've been out there. I didn't used to do metal festivals out there, but this whole Festival of Fire thing, that's how I met you. And when you first come in and, you guys rolled into the van, I was so excited. And I
remember, dude. I remember it so clearly.
Yeah, it's like it was yesterday. And you guys were just so cool, and it was just such the vibe. But then I started asking questions. If you remember, we kind of chatted, and I had you another year after that. But in between those 2 years, I was like, man, how do you do this? Because I'm searching for what your words are hitting me right in the soul. And I asked you some questions. You're like, you said something about Abraham Hicks and learning the law of attraction. So I jumped into that. And I had just become a better person after meeting you. And the things that your words have taught me, your lyrics, has made me a better person all around the board. And I'm really grateful for you and Skip and the things that you've brought into my life. It's been a better life.
Well, it takes one to know one, bro, for sure. I appreciate those kind words, and big up Matt Link for the Holycross connection, man.
Maddie. Yeah.
The second Maddie, you reached out to me and you're like, what's up? My name's Kevin Holycross. I want you to come to our festival. I was like, damn, that's a cool name. I think I'm into this already. This guy's name is Kevin Holycross? what is this? And so it's like, you know, I've always felt that like names can really kind of be like a special code into someone's soul or their purpose, you know? Like my name's Evan Burton. It's like even the burden. I always felt like I was here to even the burden, to take some of the weight, you know, to transmute a lot of the pain of the world into joy or whatever it is, you know?
You've done a pretty good job at it. Yeah. And man, I'm telling you, and then, you know, every step of the journey with you has been completely exciting and something new. And, you know, going through this last phase with you and getting your second set of lungs and, you know, I cried. I was so worried for you. And I remember I cried praying, too, bro. Crying. And, you know, I was really, really scared. And I know a lot of people were really, really scared for you.
Honestly, I was scared. I was scared. And it's like people are like, oh, he knows everything, and this guy's so conscious, he's probably fine. I was not fine. It was the scariest thing that ever happened to me. It really shook my faith, man. And, you know, what I was really the most afraid of during that was not being able to be around anymore for my family. You know, if it was just me and the worst thing that was going to happen is I was no longer going to be in this world, I would have been ultimately fine with that. But it's carrying that burden of being a provider and a pillar in the lives of the people that you love, and just watching the crisis that everyone was in around me. I just felt so freaking terrible, man. It's frightening.
Being away from home in San Francisco, not knowing when the lungs were coming.
Yeah.
You know, and having all that time to just think
or if they were going to come at all. You know, because it wasn't like I was just, okay, I'm just posted up waiting. It was like I was progressively getting worse and worse every day. And it got to a point where they're like turning up my oxygen more. And like I was like shitting myself and dying, and my eyes weren't working, and like my body was just gone. I lost 45 pounds. I was skin and bones, you know? But I only express it that way. Like I want to express it honestly, because what I don't like is when people posture like, oh yeah, it wasn't no big deal. I think that it helps for people to know that everybody goes through crazy, difficult, hard shit. And I think by being honest about it, everyone's like, okay, so I'm not the only one. I'm not a pussy or you know, or whatever, because everybody deals with this stuff. Life is difficult, man. Life can be so difficult, but it's like a risk-reward thing, right? It's like the reward of getting through that is so incredible.
I remember there were times where you didn't even have the lung capacity to speak on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much the whole time. You know, after like the last 2 months. I mean, people would want to call, and I could talk, but it was hard for me to talk. I mean, because I'm a talker. I talk fast, and like I'd be like, I got to take a break or whatever, you know?
Right. So, I mean, with that being in mind, I mean, did you expect your lungs to come in some weird way? I mean, as far as kind of like manifesting, but knowing that the work that you do here on Earth, you know, there's no way that you could be taken, you know, or I don't know what the best way to put that is.
I understand the question you're asking, and I think the reason you're asking it is because you know that. Am I correct?
Right.
You knew it, and right. I just got goosebumps, man. You know it because you're an intuitive being. You know, you're pretty connected, man, and so am I. But when it comes to being intuitive and connected to something that has such a big impact in my life, it's really hard to have it from a clear perspective, right? So like in my heart, of course, I knew and I always know that I'm going to be okay. But when crisis happens like that, and you're facing your own potential death, I kind of just lost my connection to it. I lost my connection to my truth. And the topic that I really was excited to get into today is this exactly, of what that was like for me, what happened, how my perspective of it was, and what my perspective of it now. Because, the one question that I feel that everybody wants to ask me, I can feel it because, I can just kind of feel an energy or whatever, is people want to know, what happened with the whole Iboga thing? Because Iboga told you to stop taking your medication. You stopped taking your medication, and then you needed to get another transplant. Do you regret that? What the crap, dude?
That is the question.
That is the question, right?
That is the question, yes.
So for people that are not hip to the story, I'll give a kind of a brief synopsis. I discovered Iboga medicine in 2021. Absolutely changed my life in so many ways. I ended up going to Africa in 2022. And I ended up going to Africa in 2023. And the day before I went to Africa, I got an alert on my phone. It says, you have a doctor's appointment. I'm like, oh, I forgot I had a doctor's appointment, but I was over there in that neighborhood anyways. All right, I'm going to go to it. It's perfectly aligned. And I went to the doctor's appointment and I did a breathing test, and my lungs were down the worst that they've been, at 60%. And I had been dealing with declining lung function over the past handful of years. And so they're like, this is not good. This is basically chronic rejection, which happens over time. I was 13 years out of my transplant at that point. And so I'm like, well, shit, what do? I'm going to Africa, I guess. I'm going to go talk to the Bwiti, talk to the shaman and see what they say, see if I can get some insight, right? I don't even tell my wife that this happens because I don't want anyone to worry about me, right? I'm already going across the ocean to another continent where I can't even take the yellow fever vaccine because I'm immunocompromised. There's malaria. There's all sorts of health risks. But I'm like, at this point, I gotta go. There's a deep calling in my soul. So I get to Africa. The first night we sit down, and the shaman asks me. He says, "Evan, what do you want to learn while you're here? What are you here for?" And I say, primarily, it's because of my health. And furthermore, things with my band, my business, my future, all this kind of stuff. I had a lot of questions, but the big question was my health. And so we sit down, we eat the medicine. I can only eat one scoop because I eat one scoop and then I get sick and I vomit it up. And so I'm just nauseous. At that point, you can't really eat more medicine. And one scoop really isn't enough. And plus I puked it up. So I'm not high at all. I'm like, all right, well, this is kind of a waste, unfortunate, whatever. He says, all right, Evan, your goal tonight is to ask the medicine, what's the next step for my health? And so I lay down on the mat, and instantly the medicine starts talking to me. I don't even ask a question. I'm just laying there, but I'm in Africa. I'm in the Bwiti temple. I got a tiny bit of medicine in my system, but the Iboga is right there with me, dude. And it says, Evan, you got to stop taking your medication. That's why your lungs are failing. And that's the next step. And I'm like, okay, well, that can't be real. It's got to be my mind, okay? Magenda comes by. He's like, hey, Evan, any insights? I'm like, no, nothing yet. And the medicine keeps going. It's like, dude, you got to stop taking your medication. And I just feel this thing in my soul. I was like, I fucking knew it. Because the first time I took the medicine in 2021, it told me the same thing. It said, you are healed. You received we gave you a lung transplant from the moon. Your lungs are totally healed. And you don't even need your medication anymore. But it didn't tell me to stop taking it at that time. It said, you keep taking the medication. You don't want people to worry about you. It's all good. And so at that time, I was like, yeah, I kind of just filed that under, that's insane. There's no way that's real. And I just went about my life, But now I'm in Africa. The medicine's telling me again. And so Magenda comes by a second time. And he says, all right, Evan, any insights yet? And I go, yeah, so I think the medicine is trying to tell me to stop taking my transplant medication. And he goes, I completely agree. We'll figure out a plan, and we'll taper you off of it. And I'm like, wait, what? You're not surprised by this? He's like, no. This is what the medicine does. I was like, this is normal to you? People receive transplants, organ transplants? He's like, yeah, that's what we do here, man. My mind is absolutely blown by this. I'm like, you're kidding me. You already knew this? He's like, yeah, well, the medicine tells me everything that it's telling you. It's talking to us both. Like, that's what I do. And so, like, I'm laying there, dude, and I'm just like, what? You know, my mind's blown. I can't, I sit up, and I'm like, he's like, Evan, lay down. I'm like, but I'm just, you know. And so I just lay there the whole night. I'm like, dude, this can't be real. You know, this is just like the most fantastic, amazing dream come true of my life. And so now I have the medicine telling me twice. I have Magenda confirming it in a undoubtedly convincing way of like him like, yeah, no, I already knew it. All these things are aligning to where this is an undeniable. This is either like the greatest hoax of history, or like this is just the truth that's coming through to me, right? So I'm like, I tell Magenda, I'm like, bro, this is all fine and dandy, but now I gotta go home and tell my wife. You understand how hard this is gonna be? He's like, yeah, well, what do you think she's gonna say? I was like, I don't know, man. I'll let you know. You know, he's like, you know, if your wife wants to talk to me or whatever, I can call her. So I get home and I start telling my wife, who's a nurse, by the way, gone through medical school, very science-minded, pragmatic, grounded Capricorn woman. And surprisingly, she's like, well, all right. I mean, it makes sense. It was surprising to me as well. And so I made a decision with my wife that we're going to move forward with it. I called my mom. I told my mom. Of course, you know, both my mom and my wife they had concerns. But they said, well, right on. And so I decided to do it. I'm like, at this point, it's like, I'm a pragmatic person, and I wouldn't make that decision if it wasn't so incredibly, undeniably convincing to me, right? And so I made the decision. I started tapering myself down, and I got to a point where I was completely off my medication. Which, by the way, it's completely unheard of for anyone post-lung transplant to come off their medication. It's not medically suggested. It's not safe. It's not something anyone should ever do, based on what the doctors have told me. You will have... Say it again?
You're already like 3 years over the expectancy of like a lung transplant, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I told a doctor, they'd say, absolutely do not do this, you're going to die. And so that's the kind of high stakes I was dealing with making that decision. But I came off the medication and I felt just absolutely amazing, bro. And my lungs actually started to improve. They got up from 60 to 67, which that's a big jump. That's not like I was feeling good one day and the next day I wasn't. That's a big jump, like medically measuring your FEV, which is your forced expulsion volume. It's the speed which you can blow out the air from your lungs. And so I went from 60 to 67, which was very promising. And then I ended up eating the medicine by myself at home after Africa. And the medicine started to become very clear with me that it wanted me to make the specific shift from Indubious into Heaven Zest, which we can kind of go more into that as we continue in the podcast, but just touching on that now because it ties into the story. I asked it, I said, we had the show coming up New Year's Eve. Should I play that show? And it said, no, don't play that show. And so it wanted me to just stop Indubious, you know? But I'm like, well, I've been promoting the show for New Year's. It's Rebirth Festival. And I got to do it. You know, I'm not going to like bait and switch. Like, oh, just kidding. It's not Indubious. It's actually Heaven Zest, you know? So I just felt obligated to do it. So we did it. And it was an incredible show, sold out New Year's Eve show, off the hook. crowd surfing and just absolutely mind-blowing positive. But I ended up getting sick that night. I got the flu. And I got sicker than I've ever been in my entire life. After a few days, I couldn't breathe. I would walk up the stairs and need to... I was like, all right, I got to go to the hospital. I went to the hospital. They're like, dude, your oxygen saturation is like the worst we've ever seen. We have to put you on oxygen now. And so from there on, I was on oxygen. They ended up life flighting me to University of Washington, thinking I was having transplant rejection. That's what they thought I was having. And I went to Washington, and I ended up actually getting a little bit better, and they released me from the hospital. And then it was like this kind of gradual, like I'd get better, and then I'd get a lot worse. And they'd put me back in the hospital and give me more prednisone. I'd get a little bit better, and then I'd get worse and better. And it got to a point where I was absolutely in a terrible place. I couldn't barely walk. And so I ended up going down and admitting myself to San Francisco, UCSF, lung transplant program, admitting myself into the hospital. And the progression went so fast, there was no choice but for me to get a lung transplant because I was going to die. And so this shook my faith. I mean, it didn't shake my faith. It got rid of my faith. I stopped having faith.
No kidding.
It shook it so good that it was gone, bro. And my wife was like, fuck. I knew it. I knew you shouldn't have done that. It was a bad idea. The medicine, this is bullshit. And I started to believe the same thing. I was like, this is bullshit. The medicine fucking told me to stop taking my medication. Now I need to get a fucking lung transplant. That's not cool, man. Like, what gives? The thing that gave me the biggest gifts in my life, that taught me to fully love myself and how to love my family and love my wife and believe in myself and take these wild risks, is the thing that's led me down this dark path. And I might end up dying from this. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. It really, it makes me feel emotional because it broke me in a way. It made me so hurt. Because I feel, I really ended up feeling like the best friend I ever had was Iboga, because Iboga's not like just some psychedelic. It's a spirit. Like, it's a dude. It's like, but it's not like a dude. It's like the best friend you've ever had that believes in you more than anything, that knows more about you, that can make you laugh better than anyone's made you laugh, that can give you the hope in your life that you've always wanted and make all your dreams come true. You know what I mean? So it's like, I had this deep, profound love. And then now I'm going through this, and I feel like I'm not going to be able to be a dad anymore for my daughter. And my daughter's going to grow up without a father. And I mean, anyone who's a parent can imagine how crushing that was and how much I cried. I basically had to stop crying because I couldn't cry with my lung function the way that it was. I became mentally unstable, and the lack of oxygen to my body made me start having panic attacks and extreme anxiety and claustrophobia, to where I started to have suicidal thoughts where I couldn't control it. But my mind would just go in this loop of me finding a gun, going outside and killing myself in the yard. And it would go all day long, bro. And I couldn't even sit in my house, man. Like, I had to go outside and sit in the lawn and like call my wife and say, I need to get help right now. I need something. And so she took me, we called the doctor. They called in some anti-anxiety medication. And then I took that and I started to feel better. But it didn't get better. It just got harder and harder, man. And then there was a point when I was in the hospital. I was already in the hospital for a month or so. And I was just so uncomfortable that I decided I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't want to do it. I just wanted to die. And I asked the doctors if that was okay to do. And they said, yeah, it's okay if you want to just throw in the towel, man. That's a decision that you can make. And I said, all right, well, let me think about it. I'm going to talk to my wife. And my wife came in and I said, babe, I can't do this anymore. It's too hard. I'm too uncomfortable. And I just wanted to die, And she said, no, you're not going to do that. She wasn't emotional. She said, no, you're not going to do that. You're going to do this one more time for me and for Sela. And then the next time you can decide whatever you want. If you have to get a third lung transplant or whatever, you can decide. But this time you have to do it for me. And that was the moment that I knew that I was going to make it. And so I just waited. I had to wait a whole another month at that point because I had just gotten approved on the transplant list. And it was just brutal, man. It was the mental. It was the mental. The physical was terrible, but the mental was where, because I was on all sorts of stuff. I was on antidepressants, anti-anxiety, and the doses were going up and up and up. You know what I mean? And so I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this hole. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this hole, but I just got to do this for my wife. Even if it gives me another year of life. Like, I have to be there to raise my daughter, you know? And so a whole month went by, and my friend Gary, who you guys know, Javen Michael, happened to be living in San Francisco at the time. And so he was there with me almost every day. And towards the end, a few days before I got my transplant, he said, hey, let's do like a little intention setting to see if we can get your lungs to come faster. And so we did a really beautiful little ceremony, and where we just kind of focused on clearing the obstacles to allow the lungs to come to me the best fit possible, to get rid of all the bureaucracy and paperwork and bullshit, to find the clearest path for the lungs to come to me. And it was really powerful. And afterwards, and he said, you haven't asked me, but I see a number. Do you want to know when the lungs are going to come? And I said, yeah. He said, I see the number 1, or what, I actually forget what number he said. And that must mean it was on this day, right? Or I think he said, I see the number 3, which I think is in 3 days. And I was like, cool. And then it was like 2 days later, they came in and said, hey, your lungs are ready. And then it ended up being on the 3rd day that I got the lungs. So what he told me is that, you know, Gary's someone who's probably the most connected, intuitive, psychic medium guy that I've ever known. And he's incredible. He said the reason that I decided I wanted to do that with you is because it looked like you were going to die. I thought you were going to die within 5 days. Your lungs were going to give out, and then they'd have to put you on ECMO. Basically, I'd be in an induced coma with my heart on bypass, where they're pumping oxygenated blood through to keep me alive until my lungs came, which makes a whole nother big, messy, shitty situation. So the lungs came. I couldn't be more stoked. People are like, were you scared going in? No, you're not scared when you go in, because the scary thing is not getting the lungs.
Yeah, that's what I remember asking you that, and that was your response.
Fuck no.
I was mind blown.
Fuck no, dude. Not scared. Overjoyed to have the opportunity to live again. Even if it doesn't work, just to get that opportunity to be there in that time. And man, at the time, I was in so much suffering, it was hard to see, but looking back, to see how good it unfolded and worked out. I mean, these things have to be orchestrated, man, by something divine. It has to be something divine for these things to work out. For you to be able to put a body part in someone and give them this medication that makes it interact well with their body and stitch you up. And the day I woke up from my transplant, they have you walk.
The same day.
The same day you wake up from a double lung transplant, they stand you up and have you walk. It's absolutely crazy. I was like, dude, there's no way. I'm intubated. There's a garden hose down my throat. I can't talk. Yeah. You know, I'm writing shit down. By the way, when I woke up, I was tripping so hard for whatever reason, the drugs, or everything I'd been through. But I was literally I was stuck on a time loop. And this happened to me also the first transplant. I was stuck on a time loop. But they would come in, they'd ask me a question. I'd write down the answer, show them the answer. I go, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll go get you another blanket or whatever. And then they'd come back and then a few minutes would go by and I'd be like, hey, where's my blanket? They'd be like, huh, you want a blanket? And then that would happen. Honestly, that loop would happen like 5 or 6 times. I'd start getting so frustrated. I'm like, I already told you guys. We already had this conversation. And it got so predictable that I started to witness it happening before it was happening, right? So it was like someone would ask a question, I'd give an answer, and then someone would say something. And then I'd be like, oh, you're going to ask a question. And they'd ask it. I'd say the same answer and go, cue, this guy's saying that. It was like I was on Groundhog's Day. It was the craziest thing, bro. Crazy. That only lasted for a day. But so I'm intubated. I can't talk. I have chest tubes coming out. They're standing me up and walking me, But I'll tell you one thing. People are like, that must be so painful and terrible. It wasn't that bad. I was not in a lot of pain. I was in an infinite amount of pain and suffering before because I was going downward, down towards death. And then you get the lungs and even if you're up 1%, you're on the uptrend, baby. You're in gains. You're going up. That feels amazing. And they have this new technology called microablation where they like take the nerves in your back and they freeze them. And so like I had zero pain. And so the second night after I woke up from my transplant, I was laying there in bed and I couldn't sleep. Laying there for an hour, I'm just like, crusty. I'm like, this sucks. I can't sleep. I'm laying there and I'm laying there. And then all of a sudden, dude, I don't think I've told you this story, Kevin. All of a sudden, I feel like I'm levitating off of my bed. I'm like, whoa, this is really weird. This is a trippy sensation. But then I look down and I'm levitating off of my bed. The blankets are hanging. All the cords and cables are hanging off of me. And from my perspective at the time, I'm completely awake. And so I'm scared. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, dude, if this is a dark spirit, like, you are not welcome here. You got to go away right now. Archangel Michael, help me, And then it was like, bro, it popped in. It was like, it's me. It's Iboga. I'm like, oh, what's up? It's like, dude.
No way.
It's like, you're all good. Everything's fine, man. This is all part of the plan. It has been the whole time. You just gotta move forward. Keep moving forward. You're gonna do great. It took me on the wildest journey. This was an Iboga journey. I didn't eat any medicine, and it was exactly like my journeys in the spirit world. And it took me to Africa. It took me to this lodge, some like secret lodge, a Bwiti lodge, and I met some ancient Bwiti dude named Yedo. It took me to France, and it showed me all these alternate lifetimes and scenarios about me being a baker, that it was my life goal and dream to come up with this confectionery treat that was a lemon curd. Which is it's all like the medicine's always giving me lemon things, zest things. That's why Heaven Zest, the thing is a lemon. I'm always holding lemons or whatever. And so it's walking me through all these scenarios where I'm like crafting this new thing and everyone's like, oh, the new lemon curd from Chez Jacques François is coming to France. And so and I'm eating this stuff in the journey and I'm tasting it in my mouth and it's just so delicious. This unique, powerful flavor. It's just absolutely intoxicating. And so the journey continues. It shows me the vision that I saw the most was legions of angels. Legions, cathedrals filled up with angels with big wings, big Greek god-looking angelic beings carved out of marble, regal. And it's sweeping through, showing me thousands and thousands, saying, this is the type of support that you have with you always, Mr. Zest. And it showed me a vision. It was like a sweeping side shot of a camera rolling down a hallway across the hospital room as they're working on me. And it has the doctors all around, and above the doctors is a huge angel with big wings. This guy's like twice the size of a normal person, and his wings are all over everyone. And he's above me, and they're all praying for me. And it was like the most powerful, moving, beautiful thing, dude. Anyways, I end up, improving and improving. A few weeks later, I'm hanging out with Gary in San Francisco, and we go down to the square down in the market district with there's a big square down there. Everyone hangs out, and we go and sit down, and Gary goes, I'm going to go get a pastry. He comes back with this pastry. It's beautiful French pastry, and he opens it up, and I was like, what is it? He's like, oh, it's like lemon flavor. I was like, let me try a bite of that. And I try a bite of it, and it's the same fucking lemon curd from the Vision, dude.
The same taste?
The same taste. So they say Iboga is the only psychedelic or plant medicine that can affect all of your senses. Smell, taste, sight, touch, intuition, all this stuff, right? So, like, because, you can imagine a scenario where you're tasting something that you're not actually tasting? Like, it's the weirdest thing ever. And then I taste the real thing in real life. Thanks, Iboga. So Iboga's back in my life at this point, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'm still a little bitter. I'm like, buddy, I just went through a lot. That was the hardest thing I ever had to deal with. My wife is like absolutely still in the, you better not even dare think about going in that direction again, There's just so much kind of PTSD and trauma that we all live through that it's taken a while for it to wear off. As that wears off and I start to come into my own as what I feel now like I'm twice reborn, I'm just feeling so connected and magnificent and creative and free and healthy in my life that I can't help but feel and know that all of it was part of the plan. There's this,
such a beautiful thing. That's incredible.
And thank God things are the way that they are. Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. Do you think, I got a question for you. Do you think that the Iboga knew that you would play that show and somehow that your stubbornness, that it broke through because you played that show and you did get sick and maybe this was the way it was supposed to happen? Like, did you ever consider that? Because it was called, your festival was called Rebirth. And that's kind of what happened again. And you go to this festival called Rebirth.
It's like, oh, you want a rebirth? We got one for you, buddy.
And Iboga said, don't do this show. And you're like, I'm going to do the show. And then immediately after the show, you get sick.
I think that Iboga knows. I think that Iboga knows me better than, or as good as I could potentially know myself, as anyone could know me. Iboga knows me. I mean, it's very evident in the way it communicates with me, the jokes that it tells. It uses my style of humor on me. It's like the level of intelligence that you end up experiencing when you get to communicate with the medicine clearly on that level. It doesn't happen for everyone, by the way. What my experience with Iboga does not happen for everyone. And so if you end up deciding you want to do Iboga in your life, I'm talking to the general audience, if you end up deciding, don't look at my scenario for what's going to happen to you, because it treats everyone differently. Some people end up not even talking to the medicine at all, or not hearing any messages from it, but they still can end up having the same profound healings and changes in their lives. So, to answer back to your question, yes, I do think the Iboga knew what I was going to do. I think the Iboga also knew that if it told me, hey, Evan, you need to stop taking your medication so then you will have lung rejection so you can get another lung transplant, it also knew that I wouldn't have done that.
Right.
It's like, you think of something like this in the sense of a loving parent. Your little kid needs to get a root canal. And you're going to say, honey, we just got to go do this. It's fine. It's no big deal. You're not going to say, hey, honey, just so you know, this is likely going to be the most excruciating pain of your life. You're going to scare the shit out of that little kid. They're not going to want to go. But you have to let your kid get a root canal. They're going to get infection in their head, and there's going to be a medical situation where their life is at stake. So I tend to look at it that way, that the medicine knew what I was going to have to go through. And it knew what it needed to do to make me into the man that I'm meant to be in my life. And it knows that I want that from my higher self. My higher self is like, yeah. But me as a human, I'm like, no, don't hurt me. I'm sensitive. I can't handle this, right? So it's like, it's guiding me, because my philosophy in spiritual growth is you're either a yes or you're a no. So all you have to do is say, so Kevin, let me ask you this question. Do you want to be the best version of yourself in this life possible?
Yes.
Then there you go. Yes. It's coming for you. It's coming for you.
You said that to me the other day.
It's coming for you, buddy.
This Iboga is incredible, and I've been really digging in, and I have been since you brought it to everybody's attention.
Yeah.
So now Skip's the provider, and what Mugunda's number one provider according to him, right? Like he's the guy.
Yeah.
Watching Jared Watson's experience.
Yeah.
You were just talking about how not to judge anybody else's experience and expect that or whatever. Like go in with an open heart and open mind, and not. And it's going to be your own experience.
100%.
Jared said, and I remember Jared saying that like he wasn't getting any of that. Like he was pissed off at you because you were like, "Oh my God, it's life changing, and this is the best thing that's ever happened to me." And and Jared goes in there and he's just, he had the completely different experience. Yeah, he was pissed off at you.
Yeah, no, I think it was more of like a tongue in cheek. Like he was like upset when he was going through the detox phase, because the detox phase can be absolutely difficult. But we're talking one night of a quote unquote bad trip in order to remove years of toxins from your body and a lifetime of negative, shitty thoughts from your mind. You're gonna have a dark thing. But also, he did go on to say how incredible he felt afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't mad at you. He was just like, God damn it, Evan.
He's like, what the hell?
Son of a bitch. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my favorite podcasts is him, and just watching his, just hearing his candid experience from the Iboga. It was just funny, what a powerful podcast that was. And I encourage anybody that hasn't seen that yet to go watch that, because there's a lot of questions that are answered. A lot of things that were talked about today that, will kind of make sense and bring it to a different kind of light. Jared's a pretty high profile guy, and to get him to do that, I would imagine was, I don't know. I just think it was really wild that he didn't know anything about it. How did that even come about? How did you introduce him to the world of Iboga? Well, it was even the conversation.
I had never met him. And he always seemed a little bit unapproachable, I'd seen him at festivals a few times, at festivals we were playing. And then after I had my first Iboga experience, I asked the Iboga during my journey, I said, are there any other musicians I should reach out to? And it showed me Jared Watson of Dirty Heads.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. Like, I'm just going to reach out to this famous guy and be like, hey, Iboga. But that's what I did. And I ended up sending him an email and said, hey, it sounds kind of strange, but I had this medicine ceremony. The medicine wanted me to reach out to you to tell you all about it. He responded back within 15 minutes, emailed me back. He's like, bro, that's amazing. I totally know why. The medicine wants me, and et cetera, et cetera.
Really?
And, yeah. So he had a pretty incredible response. He ended up booking a retreat and, getting on his way towards healing.
And so the medicine was already calling him.
I think that he has a destiny with the medicine. We were working on a song together, and that the Iboga actually showed me told me the lyrics, told me to do it with Jared. I brought it up to Jared and he said, let's do it. And so this song is sitting here and waiting for him for whenever he's ready. And, you know, I'm here waiting patiently too. I'm going to save the song until he's ready. But, you know, when I went to Africa and I was sitting with Magenda, you know what Magenda said to me? He said, hey, Evan, you know, I've always been shown by the Iboga that we're gonna there's some rock star guy that we're gonna heal. Do you know anyone like that? And I was like, yeah, I'll think about it. And then the next day I was like, it's Jared. And I went back to him. I was like, so this guy you're talking about, the rock star guy, is it Jared Watson of Dirty Heads? He's like, yeah, that's the guy.
What?
And so at that point in Africa, when I was laying down on the mat, I asked the medicine, I said, what's up with Jared? Are we gonna do the song? He's like, yeah, just give Jared a little time. He needs more time. He's going to come around. Don't trip. The next day, he hits me up on Instagram. And I hadn't talked to him for a year at this point. He said, dude, how's it going in Africa? I have FOMO. I want to do medicine again, bro. I know it's calling me, you know what I mean? And so that ended up happening. He ended up doing his second retreat. And I haven't talked to him.
Incredible. Iboga knows the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've come this far. You know, it's
come this far, man. I mean,
well, isn't that kind of how you feel? It's kind of like the cruise control comment, kind of on cruise control, and what happens, you know, is supposed to happen. Like the things that Iboga will bring into your pathway is the way it happens. You don't overstress anything.
That is correct, bro, and it's good to hear it and be reminded of it, because my natural tendency my whole life is not to be that way, is to be like, I gotta go and do a bunch of shit and make a bunch of stuff happen. But really, with this medicine and with this path and with spirit in general and with God in general and with your higher self, there's no rush. There's no rush. We're meant to enjoy our life and have a simple and slow pace of life. But our societal, our cultural influence tries to always make us feel fast paced. It's really deeply tied to consumerism.
Sure.
Consumerism in the Western mindset in general is it's a bit unhealthy, and it's a make money so you can buy shit, so you can consume, so you can feel good. You're on a healing journey. You're never going to be healed. You got to do a retreat. Love yourself, daily practice. Don't forget to meditate. Hurry up and meditate. You know, that's not the way. That's not the way that God talks. That's not the way that your higher self talks to you. Your higher self may say, what you're doing right now is not going to lead towards your happiness. But it's not going to say, hurry up, go. It's going to have a soft, gentle, loving tone, you know? And so if you hear something like that if anyone hears something like that coming through, that's just your mind messing with you. And so stop that. Stop that. And people go, that's way too simple. Oh, just stop it? Yeah. How do you?
That's simple. You could flip the switch.
Let me ask you this, Kevin. If you want to hold your hand up in the air like this, how do you do that?
Just like this.
You just do it.
Just do it.
You just do it. You control your hand. This is your hand. This is your mind. You control your mind. And if your mind's not listening, you go, hey, stop it now. Bad boy. Smack him right in, dude.
Yeah. I've learned in certain situations, my overthinking brain, when I was younger, 5, 6, 7 years ago, that some of these things would just eat me up, overthinking and stressing out about things. And I literally, metaphorically was like, I'm going to put this in a box and I'm going to put it on a shelf. And then when I'm ready to deal with this certain situations, I can metaphorically pull this box off the shelf, open it up and deal with it when it's the right time.
Sure.
Or I would flip the switch. If it got too intense, I would metaphorically just flip the switch in my mind. And those are two things that had really, really helped me out in bad situations. And that's some of the advice I give to my friends is like, you don't have to deal with this. You can take this, put it in a box and just throw it back up into the universe. It will sort itself out. And when it comes back, You may have a different perspective, or it may already be sorted out for you, but worry on any level is preposterous.
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying, but I would want to make a slight edit that it's also important to honor and process things as opposed to just discarding them, because when they become unprocessed and unfelt, they start to clog your drain. And when your drain gets clogged, it starts holding all the other shit in it, right? And so that's how, and that can be how a lifetime of not dealing with stuff can catch up to you and start to even give you like physical issues.
Sure. I get that. I guess I was being compounded, with a lot of different things, and certain things that were just not worth dealing with at that time. Yeah. Is the things that I allowed to just toss back into the universe.
What you're saying sounds similar to the concept of like care not to care, which is there's things that shouldn't, there are honestly things that don't matter to even think about or give any time of day. You know what I mean?
Right.
That stuff, yeah. Don't even play around, man. You're better than that. We're all better than that.
Well, it's the human experience. I mean, we're all navigating these emotions and the magic and spirituality and, the physical aspect of everything. It's a wild ride, man. It really is.
It's a wild ride. And it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. One of my favorite quotes from you was, "It's incredible to be anything at all." That's my favorite quote from you.
Thanks, man. I'm sure that's something that I heard somewhere else that I ended up just making mine. But, such is the nature of being a musician. It's true, though, regardless of where that comes from. It's true. It's incredible to be.
Here, feel, touch, breathe, breathe.
It's amazing. So do you feel complete on my answer of the big question of what's your take on Iboga now?
Did you, when you started having, so after you started, my one question is after you was talking about levitating in the hospital bed, is that when the most of that kind of all come together was there?
That's where it came into my heart. But my mind was so clogged and plugged with pharmaceutical drugs and the pain and trauma and all this, that there was a big disconnect there. So over the past 6 months, it's been like slowly coming together, but I'm there. I'm there.
I can tell.
I mean,
I absolutely love it.
It's like I wake up every day and I'm grateful, bro. And I feel the medicine in my soul. Always. It's always with me. Always. It's a part of me. And either I'm connected to it, or I am it, or or we all are everything, you know what I mean? Whatever way you want to say, at this point, I give so much credit to this thing that has showed me how to love myself. And life completely changes when you love yourself. Let's take this out of the spiritual woo-woo bullshit that we've all heard. You gotta love yourself, self-care. The truth is that when you really fully love yourself, you are so complete that it's a feeling that you will be addicted to for the rest of your life. Loving yourself. And it will lift you up so high and make you feel so good that you have no choice but to help others feel the same. When you're fully healed, you just want to heal people. It's all I want to do is help people feel the way that I do. Nothing makes me happier. Because I've been given this gift. And the reason I've been given the gift is because it knows that I can give the gift to others. And it knows that I will give the gift to others and make that my priority. And that's what I want to do. And the medicine's shown me my future. It's shown me that I'm famous and that I'm successful and that I am at the forefront of this spiritual evolution of our world. And I'm already grateful for it, even though it doesn't happen because I know it. And it's like sometimes people go, oh, dude, there wasn't a lot of people on your live stream last night. How do you feel about your progress? I'm like, I don't care. I'm just doing what sounds fun, and I'm continuing to do it, and it's getting funner and funner and better and better. And it's like, I owe it all to the medicine. But it's like, it's not just the medicine. The medicine's goal is to connect you with yourself. Because when you get connected with yourself, you need nothing else. You're good. You're set for life. You're tapped in because you're God. You have a connection directly with God now, forever. But for me, it's a little bit different, and here's why. Because I have a destiny with the medicine. The medicine has... we come into this life with these types of things already written, and the medicine's outside of time, and so it's just kind of like it's there supporting you and waiting. It's not waiting because it doesn't have time, but it's there supporting you and waiting throughout your life for these things to come in, for the time, right? And so it's just always there with me, and my destiny and mission with it is just beginning.
Incredible. It's incredible. And
it's crazy.
And as a spirit worker, the things that you do as far as like healing and helping people and being that light worker, like, do you also experience like, or have you before the Iboga and the complete understanding and being tapped in? Did you deal with a lot of darkness that came with that? Like the more enlightened you are in trying to help people and heal people, because a lot of these people some of these people or situations that I've dealt with, there's a lot of darkness behind them. Mm-hmm. And it makes me really scared to give bad advice. You know what I mean? Sure.
You don't want to be responsible for them doing something crazy.
Right. I mean, if it ever get to a point where it was, any kind of thing like that, I mean, I feel like I speak out of a fifth dimension. And I was telling my one buddy, I said, and he was going through a lot of darkness at the time, like really, really bad stuff. And I told him, he was like, I don't know how you do it, Kevin. And I'm like, well, I don't either. It's like, I feel like I'm channeling from like a fifth dimension.
It's coming through a place other than your mind. And that's why you don't know how you do it. And that's like the same thing with me when I'm live streaming. I'm not thinking about that. When I'm improvising a new song, it's just something that's happening. How do you do it? You get out of your own way. You get out of your own way and let God come through. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's
what
channeling.
Would you call that? Yeah. I mean,
to answer your question, your question was, did I deal with a lot of darkness prior to me being healed?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the brighter and higher your potential is, and that you're aware of and then the more discomfort and darkness and depression you can experience when you're not there. Because you can feel the contrast. If you've ever gotten to a really high place connected spiritually and then come back down, you're like, now I feel like shit, even though that's your normal place. So the more taste you get of that divinity, it's drawing you in. It draws you in by showing you the contrast. Like, hey, this is what you can achieve. Now go back to your life and figure out how to get back here. Take care of your shit. And that sucks. And that's why during my second transplant, I was in the darkest place I've ever been, because I was the highest I had ever been by far in my life immediately prior to that.
Yeah. Wow.
Going into my first Iboga retreat, I was feeling dark, depressed, and jaded about life. I was basically like, why is it I've worked my entire life to make this thing Indubious successful, and we are continuously shunned by the music community? No band wants to tour with us. No manager wants to manage us. No one wants to touch us. We have legions of loyal, supportive, incredibly loving fans. and are, in my opinion, some of the best music out there. The deepest, most connected, spiritual, fantastic stuff. And I feel so dissatisfied and grumpy and jaded and shitty in my life. I am tired of it, and I need answers. And the truth is that when you step into an experience with Iboga with that perspective, the medicine loves it. That's exactly what the medicine wants. It wants you to be completely fed up with your own bullshit, because then it knows that you're going to take the steps that it shows you. And boy, oh boy, did it take me there, dude.
Wow.
Took me. Wow. I feel like I felt like maybe that night I had died. In reality, that I died and I'd been reborn in heaven. That's how good I felt. Well, maybe that explains the Heaven Zest.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the origin of the name? Because I think.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
Should we do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So the first night that I had my first Iboga retreat, the next day I was hanging out and it told me my nickname was Zest. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Thanks. I don't know what to say. I just thought it was funny at the time. I was like, that's kind of a cool name. It's kind of cute, whatever. But then as time went on, like a year goes by, and I'm like, I like that name. Maybe that could be like a name of my solo project or something, And then when I sit down for my my pre-initiation, I did my Bwiti pre-initiation ceremony. I did that here in the States. That's the initiation you do before being fully initiated. I started asking the medicine some questions. I said, I was asking it questions about like me putting a bunch of budget into promotion. It said, no, don't do any of that. Don't promote any of that. I was like, don't promote any of this stuff with Indubious. And then I said, should I continue reaching out to festivals and promoters about booking shows with Indubious? It says no. I'm like, that's weird. Like at this point, I'm not ready for this information. I'm still on team Indubious must be the world's biggest band. This is my spiritual mission in life or die, right? And so I'm like processing this information. I'm like, okay, that's really weird. I'm kind of afraid to ask the big question. And I say, should I start my own solo project? And it says, yes. I'm like, all right. I'm going to call it Zest. And so that's when I start Zest of Indubious. That's when I start doing, practicing, putting together my live rig. It's very supportive. And even during that retreat, Vaughn Benjamin ended up coming to me and talking to me about it, giving me suggestions of people I should do songs with, one of whom is Zahira. You don't remember Zahira? He said,
yes.
He said, you and Zahira would make a great collaboration together, bro. You guys can both go so high. Vaughn's like my homie in the spirit world. He comes to me all the time. In a previous journey, I was just sitting there, and I was thinking about this interview that I saw of Luton Faya, and Luton Faya is talking about Vaughn and talking about when they were going to make an album, and Vaughn woke up the day they were going to make the album, and said, all of the songs from the album came to me last night. Let's go record them. And he was just remarking about how crazy that was. Like, what? This guy's unreal. I was just thinking about that randomly, laying there on the medicine, and then Vaughn comes in. He's wearing a white t-shirt. He's like sitting out in the yard. He's like, you're going to do the same thing, man. That's exactly what you're going to do. And that's what I'm doing, bro. I sit down for a live stream. Like I did a live stream to China the other day in 11:11. It was 11:11 in China, but it was 11:10 here. I came up with like all these songs in the moment that were like the dopest songs with lyrics and verses free flowing out of me.
That's my favorite thing. That's my favorite thing because it's all spontaneous. It's all that fifth dimension stuff.
Yeah.
You're channeling. And I think you guys have always channeled something like that with
It's
Indubious.
always been there. There started to become this very obvious block. And I want to get back to that, but let me finish the origin of the Heaven Zest story, because that's where we're going. I snap back into the the main topic here. So told me my name was Zest, told me to stop, promoting Indubious and booking Indubious, told me to start my solo project. At this point, I'm still doing tours and playing Indubious. I'm not ready to give this up. But when I come back from Africa, and I have that was my first Iboga retreat after Africa. The medicine had like a little party planned for me, and things with Bwiti and with Iboga are very slow. It's like years and years and years. It's like a time investment for you to uncover things, and the secrets and the mysteries and the truths, they never end, bro. Never ending. And so I come back and it has this little party planned for me, and it takes me to a room. And on the wall in the room is a sparkly purple curtain. And then it goes brrr, drum roll, and the curtain gets drawn up and it says Heaven Zest. I'm like, all right. I guess that's my name. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, I had never put these two words together in my life. And I went and I told my wife, and she's like, oh, that's kind of weird, man. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. But so prior to that, I thought my name was just going to be Zest. But what I did is I went and I looked online I typed Zest in Spotify. There's like 20 different Zests. I'm like, what am I going to do? And so then it was like, here's your answer, buddy. Heaven Zest. What is Heaven Zest? Why is it Heaven Zest? Well, it's really, the reason I've chosen is because the Iboga Gate has given it to me, and it's an honor to receive a spiritual name from Iboga. And furthermore, my name is Evan, rhymes with heaven. And really...
And Kevin.
And Kevin. And really the essence of what I do is I want to bring people into a heavenly state. That's what I want to do with my music. I want people to listen to my music and feel elevated. And Zest is like the essence of Heaven Zest. It's the essence of heaven that comes through. So, yeah. People are often curious, like, about the lemons, like, what's the deal with the lemons? I mean, obviously you zest lemons, but the medicine it speaks to me through lemons, man. It's like, it's just been this thing, and it still hasn't told me why. It's just kind of like, wink, wink. And I'm like, no, wink, wink. I don't know. Tell me. But it's like, you're turning lemonades into lemons, bro. Or turn lemons into lemonade, right?
I think that works both ways.
That's true. It does.
Well, I mean, it does.
Yeah. So.
Well, it's been an incredible pleasure watching you perform and create on the fly, and it's something that when I can make, it's like I'm in the future 3 hours, so by the time you come live for the humps, it's like 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're on there every once in a while, man. I know. Like, I go to bed at 9 o'clock every night of my life, bro. At this point, like, and that's funny because with Bwiti, like, one of the big teachings is like, you need sleep. You need to get sleep every night. Sleep is super important. Get sleep. But it's funny because when you eat the medicine, you stay up all night. And the Bwiti people stay up like for 3 nights in a row on the medicine. But it's also like a really core teaching of leading a happy, healthy life is getting good sleep. So, like, I don't mess around with my sleep, man. I don't mess around with it.
Do you ever listen to the music?
What music?
The Bwiti music?
Are you kidding me? That's almost
like, is that something?
Almost all I listen to. Almost all that I listen to music-wise at this point in my life is Bwiti music and then my own music, because I'm producing music all the time. I hear songs when I'm at the gym, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool chord progression or whatever. But I have this connection to, like, this divine source of inspiration. Like, the medicine will just give me a song, dude. Be like, boom, check this out. When I was,
I think we feel the same. We feel the same way about Indubious.
For sure.
At At least I do.
I mean,
I know
the correlation between what the medicine teaches and Bwiti teachings and the music is like undeniably synced up, because indubious means no doubt.
No doubt.
And with Bwiti, it's all about being 100% no doubt. 99.99 does not equal 100. It equals 0. You have to have no doubt. You have to absolutely believe in yourself and love yourself. And that's all the stuff that we teach. And there's all these quotes in old Indubious lyrics that are like, that's the medicine. That's the medicine right there. That are like crazy. Go listen to Root Down. Remember that song with Zahira? Speaking of Zahira?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Look and put your root down. There's during Skip's verse. And everyone go listen to that song by Indubious and tell me that's not exactly about the medicine.
Assimilate the holy medicine, roots containing all the mineral and vitamin. So while the vibes are sinking in, remember that to never know the self, it is the only sin. Giving thanks for what we're given, we'll honor in the place we live in. Our kingdom of the Lord is within. Well, all you manifest in life and misery or heaven. A gentle people representing. A heart of goodness is the mission. A liberty is how you live in. Remember to live right and everything will be forgiven. You can let your root down. You can let your root down low.
This whole conversation that we've had, like all of these quotes from your lyrics from Indubious just keep popping up, and I just want to keep saying them. Like all these words that you're saying, like they just reference all of these lyrics. And throughout this whole conversation that we've had, like these are some of the things I've thought of. Like, yep. And I wanted to hit you with that lyric and be like, I quote it all the time. I mean, it's like my personal. It's like a spiritual Bible for me, man. This music is like gospel music for me. And now with the Heaven Zest project, I can't wait to see what comes. I mean, because your first release was just a banger.
Thanks, man.
Incredible.
Thank you.
And then you had talked to me a little bit about some of the ideas that you have for the album, and I'm like, this is going to be the album.
Yeah, it's all coming together. I'm working on it, and I have a new single dropping on the 28th of this month, November 28th of 2024, for those of you listening from outside of time. And this next song, I love this next song. And I'm not going to say much more about it than that, but it's coming. Go follow me on Spotify, everybody. Please go to Spotify, type in Heaven Zest, and click the follow button if you're listening right now and you're inspired by this and you want to support. Also, if you want to see me making up songs and channeling spirit in real time, you can tune in on Wednesdays to my Facebook live streams. And Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. You might even see Kevin in the chat if he's awake.
Probably.
But yeah, anyway, sorry. A little shameless self-plug there.
No, don't forget the YouTube channel too. I think.
So you can
get those numbers up.
You can go to YouTube and just find Heaven Zest on there. I'm the only Heaven Zest in the world. And follow me there. I have all of my live streams up. Every single live stream I have recorded and put up there, so you can go through and see all my weird, hilarious, amazing, embarrassing freestyles.
Yeah, it's some of my favorite stuff to watch for sure. What else was I going to say about that? Yeah, we got 63 subscribers right now on YouTube. I looked.
Yeah. And, it's not doing that great, but I'm not putting that much into it. I kind of have this overall sweeping plan of Heaven Zest, what it's going to do, how I'm going to promote it, my plan for world domination, so to speak, right? So, and like we were talking earlier, it's not this. I'm not clamoring for attention. I'm slowly, intentionally, and mindfully building what will naturally on its own become something truly magnificent. It's already truly magnificent, but the world is going to know about it.
Well, if you subscribe, if you watch YouTube as much as I do, sometimes these videos pop up in your real-time feed And it just might be exactly what you needed to hear or watch that day. That's some of the magic that happened. So go subscribe.
Yeah. And so touching back, I want to touch back on the medicine slowly kind of revealing to me my new path as Heaven Zest and urging me away from Indubious, because I think what a lot of people want to know is like, why'd you stop Indubious? You know, what's up? Are you going to do Indubious again? When's the next? Which, like, I'm obviously, honestly, I'm a little tired of people asking me that. So I want to make sure it's covered very clearly. And would you agree that's a good idea?
Yes, I 100% agree with that, because it's on everybody's mind. That would be the next question.
Yeah. So obviously, the majority of my life's work, like in the realm of maybe like 99% of my life's work, has gone into Indubious. This is something that I love dearly and has like really been the guiding force in my life that has walked me down the spiritual path. It's just what is naturally in my soul that I'm interested in, and it's doing it with my brother. It's like this band that we're gonna do together as brothers. We're brothers that were born with a disease and had this like fucked up, complicated, difficult childhood that grew into these spiritual people. Like, we're like trauma bonded, you know, which like you can't mess with that level of connection. And this dream is like, it's still my dream. And I still know it. And I still know that it will be real. But it's been shown to me very clearly by the medicine why it must be set down for now, what I must do with my new project. And it's also been very clearly shown to my brother the exact same thing. My brother's starting a family.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a new baby.
Shout out Skip.
He's got a new baby now.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's dynamics between me and my brother that, I mean, you can imagine being in running a business with your brother and being in a band and being close quarters. We had some deep issues that needed resolution. And really what the medicine wants is for us to have some time to reevaluate and reestablish what we're doing. And that comes from life experience. We need to have some space. Furthermore, what it wants me to do with Heaven Zest is a different thing that's really going to be, it's going to be immensely large, and it's going to bring all of the attention to Indubious that Indubious ever needed as well. And so when it comes back together, it's just going to be more momentum, more possibility, and more magic. And it's going to be better than it ever has been. But that might not be for another year or 2 or 3 or 4. I don't know. There's no exact timelines with this stuff. And with the medicine, things are always a little bit longer than you think they are. And so it could mean that we're not fully back together for 5 years. That's fine. In the meantime, I'm going to be working on releasing the most magical, channeled, beautiful, loving, meaningful music that I possibly can.
Can't wait.
You know, if someone came to me right now and said, I'll pay you this much money to do Indubious, I'd say, no, it's not the time. Right. I've been shown clearly. I know why, and it's just not the time. Good things take time, so I'm going to take mine.
Mm-hmm. I think you did an excellent job of answering that.
Thanks.
I'm just buckling up, waiting for this new album.
Yeah, you know, it's a little bit daunting to take on the project doing a complete album by yourself, but it's not like I didn't do that. I mean, I obviously had help with the Indubious albums, but they were mostly done by me anyways. But but I'm taking a little bit different of approach where I'm going to release singles leading up to an album. And so it might be half of the songs are already released by the time the album comes. But that seems to be the way in which the future of music is unfolding, really, for most artists. And like, I don't want to be like some boomer stuck to, I remember when we had these albums. But that doesn't mean that I can't take my singles and call them in a collection of songs in an album and sell that album at shows or online or whatever, because that's what I'm going to do, and it's still going to be filed under an album. And
well, we used to have to wait a year, sometimes year and a half, 2 years for an album to be completed and released.
Right.
Now, this, when you release a song, you got it.
I'm planning on trying to release a song every month.
That.
I'm going to try to release at least one song a month. Yeah. 4 to 6 weeks.
Incredible. Wow.
So, it's going really good. I'm excited to share. After this podcast, I'll play some new stuff for you if you want.
I definitely want.
Yeah.
I definitely want. It's great to see the shine, man. It's just to have you here with the big smiles and this energy it's not a whole new Evan, but it's a more powerful Evan. I can feel it.
You're exactly right, buddy.
I mean, it's strong, and I can feel it, and what's to come is going to be absolutely incredible. I think that you're not just going to release something that's okay. You're going to release bangers.
No pressure.
And I can't wait. I think that comes natural to you. But this 2025 season, man. That's what I wanted to ask you about. So when you play live, is any of that rehearsed? Or what's the percentage of rehearsed versus freestyle? I've
only played 5 or 6 shows as Heaven Zest live or whatever, So this process of refinement is building. But my goal, and really basically what I did for some of the shows towards the end, as I get more and more comfortable, it's about the first half of the set I'm doing improvisation. And then I go into the songs, because people like things that are familiar. They're going to want to hear songs. But even the songs themselves are woven in with weird stuff, or something I come up with at the time, or I change it up. Nothing's ever really the same. But I would say it's about 50-50 based on the songs. Like, for example, when I was in... when I was showing Eugene, which the Eugene show was so good, bro. It was like my favorite show that I've ever played. And I was just on it, man. It was like, I was just channeling, and I was bringing through all these new songs. And then I played some of my songs, some of my new Heaven Zest songs. And I did like C#, like an Indubiously song. I mixed that in there. And then the last song, and they're like, one more song. I'm like, all right, I'll do one more. Do you guys want to hear like a song that I'm working on? That I've worked on? You want to hear something brand new? Like, we'll just make it up. They're like, brand new, let's make it up. I was like, all right, Give me some words. They're like, porcupine, farms over pharmacies, sunshine. So I had this whole song about a porcupine who like started getting sick, and he decided to eat food to heal himself, So like, that was really, really fun. And like, I think people it's undeniable talent and magic when someone's coming up with something in front of your eyes, and it's nothing no one's ever heard before.
On stage too.
On stage. But that's really hard to do. If you're even a little bit nervous, it doesn't really work. And that's what I've noticed. Like my first show that I did, my first headlining show in Bend, I was just a little bit nervous. But it like... You're a little bit nervous and you make one mistake, and then it starts to compound and compound. Towards the end of the set, you're just like, I can't wait for this to be over. But everyone was so nice, and so many people said so many amazing things. They're like, dude, that was so great. I'm so excited. People are really loving what I'm doing regardless. These are my own minor critiques. But I'm getting to a point now, and really what's helped me get to this point is my live streams, because every week I'm going to come in and play for an hour and a half to a bunch of people on the internet. I rehearse nothing. I don't do anything beforehand. I come in, just me. And sometimes what I used to do in the beginning is I'd practice a few things, come up with a few ideas before, like loose ideas, or, I'm going to do this. But I've found that when I don't do that, it turns out better. The more it's premeditated, the more the magic goes away. And that is the trust fall of being a channeler.
And you could witness that every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday on The Hump with your host, Heaven Zest.
Heaven Zest.
Zest.
I love it, man. It's like we're all creating with you too, and you give us the opportunity to do that. I mean, you pop on your feed, and then you're like, somebody says something funny. Who said the other day? What was that?
Zest Two Babies.
Quote, the Zest Two Babies.
Oh God, that's like my favorite pun. That is Gabe. Gabe is hilarious. He's a really funny guy, a great friend, a huge supporter, and I love you, Gabe. I know you're listening. And he was like, we should call the Indubious fans Zest Two Babies. And like I looked at it, I was like, what? Zest 2? I was like, oh my God, I finally got it. And I was just like cracking up. He took a little screenshot of my face, laughing at it, and put it on the Indubious fan page. Super funny. I'm like, dang, should we rename the Lemonheads to Zest 2 Babies?
It was perfect, man. It cracked me up.
There's so many, we came up with so many good ideas for the Heaven Zest fans page that I started to get, I'm conflicted because I love Zesty Besties. I love Lemonheads. I love Zest 2 Babies. I
do too. It's so much fun. Like the Hump is a lot of fun. I get really energized when I watch that. It's like, you can sit and watch a performance, but it's not like that.
Thanks,
this is some crazy channeling magic, you at your best. Sometimes, you mess up a drum beat and you're like, it's
there's no shame. I'll mess something up and be like, all right. Anyways.
It's so much fun, man.
You do it better.
Yeah,
I don't care. And so that's the beauty of the Hump, is that it's giving me this it's incredible platform for practicing, because practicing by yourself, I'm not going to go practice by myself in my room for an hour and a half and make up a bunch of silly songs. That's just not going to happen. That's I would go in and practice serious stuff. But I literally need to have that audience. And so I've just kind of shed every layer of shame or self-doubt. And I know that I can do it on demand anytime. And so now that I'm building that confidence, I can come to the stage, in front of an audience of people, which is a totally different setting, far more intimidating. And I can bring that same authenticity. The second it becomes pretentious, or holier than thou, or I'm trying to be cool, or anything like that, all of the validity and authenticity just goes down the drain. And so I have to be myself. And the truth about myself is I'm silly, I'm weird, I love immature humor. I'll be doing this live streaming, channeling this divine epic wisdom, and then I'll go straight into a poop or a dick joke, whatever. I'm myself. And that is so disarming and comforting for people, because I feel like the spiritual community is just so, it's just so pretentious, man. And most people want to fit in to wear their white cotton and just namaste. And it's that's not me, man. That's not me. That's not me. I'm a dude. I'm a dude. I'm a much of a normal dude, human man as they get, but I'm also a very spiritual, connected, kind of magical guy.
You're always on. You're always on.
Well, there's times when I'm
always
not.
on. Not with me. I have not seen that side of you.
What else do we want to cover before we go, buddy?
I mean, how hard is it for you to travel now with your rig? I mean, before you had a couple of keyboards, now you got loopers and drum pads.
It's not a lot more stuff. Me traveling now is just me going in my truck, and versus having drums and bass cabinets and all this crap in the van and stacking it all up, and then organizing, having, our sound guy and all the sound gear, the interface box and shit. Is so much stuff, dude. This is nothing.
Packed. Every inch of that
I can fly with my entire rig, other than my keyboard stands. I need to have those backlines, but I can fly with my entire rig and carry everything myself.
Nice.
So
I was wondering.
I'm booking festivals for next year. I got a few on the books, and
we really want to get you on Everwild Festival here in Ohio.
I want to play whatever festival will have me. If anyone out there is listening and they're like, dude, we need Heaven Zest at blah, blah, blah fest, like, just make the link for me. You know, hit them up, send them something about me, tell them, like, this is the dude, and then let me know, and I'll contact him. We'll make it happen.
Yeah. If you want the smoke at your festival, here's your guy.
You got to bring the fire.
100%. 100%. And, you know, who knows? Because like you said, I mean, every show is different, you know, and I imagine it's with the vibe of the crowd and the vibe of the venue is how your set's going to turn out. You know, it's not like you can festivals.
I really like playing when it's dark. And it occurred to me the other day, there may be a reason for that. I think that when it's dark and the moon is in the sky, that my connection to channeling is very heightened. And did you know that if you ate Iboga during the day, you wouldn't journey?
Really? I did not know that.
You would not journey.
Wild.
Yeah.
The moon energy, huh?
It's the moon. It has to be at night. That's when the ancestral spirit realm is open to us. And so if I can do a performance at a festival, it's like, obviously I'm not a headliner at this point in my career, but I could be a closesliner, you know, the guy that plays after the headliner or on the side stage or whatever. That's really my sweet spot. Yeah. Like, put me on the weird side stage and like I will change someone's life.
Absolutely.
One of those people in that crowd is getting a full upgrade that night. You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah. Man, that's a well put. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clothesliner. I like that.
Clothesliner.
I've done that at a few of my festivals. You know, the after party kind of thing. But yeah, let's get you on at night. Let's let that light shine, buddy.
Let that light shine, baby.
What else did I have for you? I had a couple good things I wanted to ask you.
Hit me.
Well, I think we covered a lot of this stuff. But
smooth.
Do you have any ideas for live collabs, or is that something you would just do on the fly? I know you guys weren't really into doing the live stuff, bringing people on or going on other people's sets. Like, you know, you would always do it, but it wasn't something you would necessarily want to happen or ask to happen.
I mean, I'm pretty much open to whatever.
Of course you are.
You know,
yeah.
I feel so much more free with what I'm doing, because with Indubious, it was weird in the sense that, you know, having tracks on Ableton, things were kind of like squished into a box. Like, you had a certain amount of time for a song, right? And so with what I'm doing now, it's completely open-ended. Like, and things just were so structured with Indubious. It's part of the reason why I needed to do something new, because it had just fallen into a rut, a pattern of, I make a song in the studio, I bounce the stems, we play it live exactly like it is on the album, and we play it a million times just like that. And it's like, it started to become this stale thing. And the reason was because we really weren't practicing enough. We weren't practicing and creating together. The dynamic had become stale. You know, there's really no other way to put it. And even without the medicine guiding me to that, the universe was doing the same thing. My brother falls and breaks his wrist the day before we're supposed to go and do a tour in Europe. And you damn well know that tour in Europe would have blown Indubious up in Europe. Because our style of reggae in America isn't like really so much the thing, but in Europe, our style of reggae is like the thing. And we were playing Rototom and all, you know, going on a tour with Easy Star. So there's something, whatever it is, the medicine, spirit, our higher selves, that was stopping us from going down a certain particular path. What's not a bad thing. We should be grateful that we're guided in this way. Like, how cool is it that there's powers beyond us making sure that things unfold the way they're supposed to for us. It's for us.
As long as you acknowledge that and trust the process.
Makes it so much easier, man. And then also, you're like the thing of us like constantly trying to, grow the brand of Indubious, but really, finding that as far as support from American reggae bands, it was like none. And not that anyone would say anything bad about us, be like, oh yeah, totally. They would just not work out over and over and over again.
Yeah, and everybody loves you.
Yeah, so
everybody I've ever talked to is just the highest respect, and they, never a bad word. I get it. And that's why you're such an inspiration to me personally, is because, I see you in this light, you guys in this light in my life, like spiritual mentors and just, like some of my favorite people I've ever met in this world,
Thanks, man.
And then I watch how you handle conflict and disappointments and just your daily life. And it's an inspiration to me. Like sometimes when I'm having a bad day and I've called you, you would say just, a couple of words, and it was like everything is completely flipped around. It's
well, I'm always here for you, buddy.
Thank you.
Anytime you need that is my pleasure to be able to do that for you in your life. I love you so much, man. You're such a great dude and a great dad. And your
as are you.
Your dedication to you're just dedicated to the world, to like just helping people. I mean, it's just beautiful to see, man. I just love you, buddy.
Thank you. I love you too. I want to be more like you.
Well,
you know what? I love the Indubians. I love the Lemonheads. This is an extended part of my family that, when I jump on your streams and I watch, and I'm so happy to be a part of that. And it's a really, I'm really proud of it. To call myself an Indubian, and be a part of this.
I'm proud to be an Indubian.
Oh my God, that's got to be on the hump. Yeah, no, thank you for everything you've done for my life. And I know many, many people feel the same way. So from us and from the bottom of my heart, man, thank you. And for all your struggles, we've seen you get really emotional at the beginning of this podcast here. And
I didn't know that was going to happen, by the way.
Well, I was tearing up too, and I was trying not to, because I'm ugly when I cry, bro. I love that transparency that you have. The honesty, and it's just everything that you do for me is such an inspiration, man. It's just, I can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you so much for all the flattering, awesome, kind things you said. And really, anyone out there who's listening to this podcast and like, damn, that was a good podcast. You have Kevin to thank for this podcast, because I was just hanging out, minding my own business, and I get a text from my buddy, Kevin Holycross, says, dude, when are you going to do the next podcast? And I said, I don't know. I don't have anyone to do it with. Do you want to do it with me? And you were like, no, I don't want to do that. No one wants to hear me talk. And I'm like, bro, you're the perfect guy to do a podcast with. And here we are. This was amazing.
Well, and with that being said, like, I don't want to be somebody who gets the lowest numbers of listens.
There's no way, though. There's no way, because there's been such a lapse in us releasing. Because honestly, the reason I haven't been doing podcasts is because I didn't know where I stood in my heart about the way that I perceive the world. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to sit here and go back to talking about how great a medicine path is and all this shit when I'm in crisis, when I'm like, don't know even if I have belief in it, right? You know what I mean? And that's really where I was. And, so it just took me getting to the right point of, I'm ready to tell my story. I'm ready to tell the story. And so this is the story that I'm going to tell to the world. I'm going to tell it through podcast. I'm going to be making a series of short films that I'm going to release through TikTok and Instagram and Facebook that's going to be talking about my experience with the medicine in order to kind of bring people into a more authentic, vulnerable sense of where I really am. And it's really going to be in an effort to help people who may be going through the same shit. Because I know whether it's plant medicine or it's Jesus Christ, or it's, your community shunning you, or whatever it is that you're having trouble with through a spiritual transformation. Spiritual transformations are not easy. It's not a simple thing. And you can feel suicidal, or like you want to die, or like you're gonna die, or you might even kind of maybe almost die like I did, or, whatever the scenario is. To see someone being vulnerable and talking about their issues is healing for the world, man. And people need that. Without that kind of stuff, and without messages of hope and magic, life sucks. The world as it is painted by, culture and media is gloomy, dude. Some people don't
That's
have...
why you need...
Say it again?
That's why you need spiritual fitness, right?
That's why you need spiritual fitness.
How would you explain that to people? That's a big word for me,
I mean, spiritual, so what is fitness, right? Fitness is using something enough to where you're tuning it. It's like, physical fitness, you got to pump your muscles and use them to get them into the shape that they're meant to be in. And as long as we ignore the fact that there's spiritual, energetic, emotional realms to ourselves and the world and the way that things work, they're going to stay rusty. So everything's a muscle, man. Every thought you think, and it creates that little groove in your brain. Mm-hmm. And the more you continue to think it, the better that groove gets. And the more and more you're going to go down that groove. So if you're flexing the My Life Sucks groove,
right,
you're going to get more of a My Life Sucks thoughts. And so find the muscles you want to flex and flex them. Find the muscles you want to be better and use them.
That's beautifully put.
It's the trust muscle, bro.
Yeah, man. That's
the trussle.
Well put. Well put, brother. I love it.
Thank you for coming on, my boy Kevy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Living Indubiously podcast, and we're back, baby. Any final words?
Kevin Zest. Yes. Go follow Kevin Zest at Spotify. Stay on top. Do your spiritual fitness. Be good to yourselves. Reach out if you need anything, if you're struggling. Love your neighbor. Be good people. And the best is yet to come, so buckle up.
Whatever you focus upon becomes your truth.